You do OMAD? So what do you do all day? I've been asked a lot what my normal everyday routine looks like. And to me, it's really simple, but enough people have asked this question that I really wanted to do a whole video just to kind of run down my day so that you can see what I do all day. So the first thing I do is I wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning. And of course, the first thing I do is I use the restroom. But the second thing I do every single morning is weigh myself. I then take that number and I put it immediately into my Fitbit app. And the reason I do it that way is because if I wait until later in the day, I will forget to weigh. And also, if I go ahead and just put the number in right then it's recorded. You may think that you'll remember, but I can't. I just, my brain, I can't tell you what I weighed this morning, but I can look back on my Fitbit app and tell you. The next thing I do is have my morning cup of coffee, which does have half and half, and I sit there and I read the Bible. And since I'm in Florida and I'm full-time RVing and it's really hot outside, I also then go get my 6 miles in first thing in the morning. I go ahead and get my steps in because it is very hot out here and it gets progressively harder. The hotter it gets, the harder it gets, and the longer it seems to take. And I enjoy it less if it's really hot outside. So I go ahead and get those done in my early part of the day. After I come in from getting my steps in, then I sit down and I do my morning pages, which is a relatively recent thing I've started doing. I started doing it at the beginning of this year, so not throughout my whole weight loss journey. However, I would encourage you, it's something to at least experiment with. It's 3 pages, long handwriting of just your stream of consciousness. And even though I didn't do this particular exercise when I was losing weight initially, I did do a lot of journaling in the beginning. And what I noticed was when I could really write down my thoughts, I started to notice some patterns of my thinking that I needed to improve on. And so I'd encourage you, if you're going through a weight loss journey, try some sort of journaling, either morning pages or just, any kind of journaling technique. After that, my day begins. I homeschool my 3 kids. I draw, I write, I love to read. I basically keep myself busy all day long. I take full advantage of the fact that I do not eat during the day until supper. So I make those hours as productive as possible. And somewhere during the day, I have coffee, usually 2 more times. So a total of 3 cups a day. And then of course, supper time is my one meal. So here's how that looks. I, generally speaking, will make the meal from scratch. I love to cook, and so that's generally how I do it. I mean, I do use some ingredients like canned soups and things like that, but generally speaking, I am making the thing from scratch. I eat whatever I want, so there's never a meal plan. It's just whatever we have on hand. It can be anything from like spaghetti and meatballs to biscuits and gravy, or beans and rice or chili. I just basically eat anything that I want. And then we all sit down together as a family and enjoy our meal. We do not watch TV. We have just the meal in front of us. We sit there and we talk about our day. Now, a lot of people ask me, how long does your window open? And basically, it's just as long as it takes to eat the one meal. So it's not like my window opens at 6:30 and is open for several hours. It's just for the one meal. So I sit there and eat. And as far as desserts go, we generally don't have dessert, but I do eat them whenever I crave them. And that was a very important thing for me to learn, is to just, when I crave it, eat it. But then what I found is I don't crave it very often anymore. And then when I get full and the conversation has ended, then we stand up from the table. And that's when my fasting window begins again. Now, in the early days, I did have some times where I would stand up from the table, I'd maybe walk around a little bit, and I'd realize oh, I'm still hungry. So I would sit back down. Nowadays, I've done it so much, I know how much I need to eat so that I won't feel hungry until supper the next day. So I don't really have to do that anymore, but it is something I did in the beginning. And then I get in bed around 9. And that's really the only time I watch television. Sometimes we'll put on an episode of Psych or something, but I don't watch television during the day. I just try to focus on being really productive. And so that's generally how my day goes. There are a couple of things that happen weekly. Friday night is our date night, and sometimes that means that we pick up food from a restaurant, and then other times that just means that we get food from the grocery store, and generally that night does have a dessert. And then on Saturday night, my family does sleep on the couch night. So it's like our family night where we, either we'll watch a movie generally, or maybe we'll go somewhere and do something fun. But we usually have some sort of food, fast food or food from a restaurant. But other times we, pick up food from the grocery store and make it at home. And then, of course, for Sunday, my life is totally different because that's cheat day. That's where I just eat whatever I want, whenever I want, however many times during the day that I want. And I do walk 6 miles. So that's what my daily life looks like as someone who does OMAD. So I'm curious to know, what does your life look like as an intermittent faster? Have you found that there's a lot of freedom with your time, or is that maybe something that's worrisome to you, or do you find it to be a very productive time? I know I certainly find it to be very productive. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below.